نبدأ؟
نعم.
الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So tonight inshallah ta'ala we'll be continuing discussing the book Al-Bukhari. So one of those who have condensed or summarized Sahih Bukhari, and this is the one by Zabid rahimahullah. So we'll be discussing matter relating to Kitab al-Salat, and in particular he's mentioned a hadith that relates to the masjid and some of the ahkam of some of those matters that relate to the ahkam of the masjid. So inshallah ta'ala we will continue from where we had stopped in the last lesson and take it from there bi'awnillahi ta'ala. Where we had stopped?
نعم. حديث
After
أصحاب الحراء في المسجد.
That's where we stopped?
لا,
we didn't discuss that.
Sorry. حديث باب الأخذ بالنصول.
أي بالنصول.
نعم.
أيوة.
نعم. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. قال المؤلف رحمه الله. Chapter 44, Hadith number 283. While passing through a mosque, one had better hold one's arrowhead with one's hand. Hadith number 283, narrated by Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhuma. A man passed through the mosque carrying arrows. Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said to him, hold them, the arrows, by their heads. Hadith chapter 45, passing through the mosque is permissible. Hadith number 284, narrated by Abu Musa radiallahu anhu, Abu Musa al-Ashari radiallahu anhu. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, whoever passes through the mosques or markets with arrows should hold them, the arrows, by their heads, lest he should injure a Muslim.
Aywa. So the author rahimahullah mentioned these two hadith or these two chapters again relating to matters that relate to the masjid, and in particular regarding matters that regarding that certain precaution that one should be mindful of regarding the safety in the masjid. So he discussed concerning the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he mentioned the hadith of Jabir. So the first he mentioned regarding busul al-nabl, where the person regarding the arrowheads, that regarding our person should carry these when they're inside of the masjid. So he mentioned regarding concerning the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that it mentioned regarding that Jabir radiallahu anhu, that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned الرجل مر الرجل في المسجد, where a person that he walked through the masjid, وَمَاهُ سِهَامٌ, and he added with him concerning that his spear, فَقَالَ لَهُ Rasul alayhi salam, so the Prophet alayhi salam, that he addressed that person and told him by way of caution and advice, أَمْسِك, that for you to all concerning, that be نِسَالِحَ, that you should all of your arrowheads, or be mindful regarding the arrow that you're, or the arrow that you're or the arrow that is being carried. So from this the ulama mentioned regarding concerning that, and then the next hadith that follows, that's somewhat a continuation of that discussion, but a second hadith of Abu Musa al-Ashari radiyallahu anhu, where the Prophet ﷺ mentioned regarding man marra fi shay'in min masajidina, the one who goes by or the one who passes through our masajid, or aswakina, or regarding concerning our suq, then he mentioned فَلْيَأْخُذْ عَلَى نِسَالِحَ, then one should, regarding their spear that they are carrying, that they should be mindful of this. And he mentioned وَيَعْقِرْ بِكَفِّهِ مُسْلِمًا, that a person that he doesn't harm or injure a Muslim. So from those two hadiths that have been mentioned, that the first hadith that mentioned that a person was going by in the masjid, the person was going by the masjid, and the Prophet ﷺ offered that person advice. So it shows regarding that one, that advice being given inside the masjid, that a person who saw something, that the Prophet ﷺ saw something occurring in the masjid, where this person was going by in the masjid, and he offered him certain advice regarding, for him to be mindful regarding concerning of certain precautions that one should take even inside the masjid, and even this precaution extend outside the masjid. And in this case that he mentioned, of those things the person should be mindful of regarding the safety of himself and others. So regarding concerning that of carrying anything that a form of weapon, in this case concerning that the arrow, that the person gonna somewhat ensure that the arrow is somewhat, it is protected, where the edge of the arrow is protected from bringing harm to either the person or to others. Now, so it shows regarding concerning that, so the Prophet kind of somewhat mentioned and brought it to the attention of this person. So it shows regarding that the masjid is a place at certain ahkam that is specific to the masjid, and that the Muslim also, he should be more careful regarding the acts or the things that are done inside the masjid, and where those things are in line with Islam, and also the rules in particular that relates to the masjid, as the masjid, the ahkam of the masjid is somewhat different from any other building. So the ahkam of the masjid, this particular building which is called the masjid, the rules that pertain to it, it's different from any other building. So one to be mindful of this. So it shows regarding that, taking certain type of safeguarding measures in place inside the masjid, so things that will harm of others. So the Prophet ﷺ, when he mentioned this particular case, so it means concern that another person regarding an arrow, so anything that is considered to be a form of weapon that could harm of others or endangers others, then those things to be one to be very cautious of those things. So the person might have weapons. I would say that in the sense that the person in a country where it is allowed for a person to carry weapons, that they have to ensure that those weapons inside the masjid, that they're on their safety, and where they are not a threat to others. So also it shows regarding that of those things of Islam, that Islam is very mindful regarding the safety of others, whether inside the masjid or outside the masjid. So even though the person might not have the intention to harm someone, but also the person to kind of somewhat put measures in place where others are not harmed. So in this case, the Prophet ﷺ can somewhat remind the person, advise the person regarding this matter, as he mentioned, amsik, that for you to hold or to secure your spear, that it does not harm of anyone. So that's said, that applies to every other type of thing that may be dangerous that a person might carry or take inside a masjid. Anything that may be harmful and dangerous to others in the masjid, then for the person to be very careful of this. And also, as we'll discuss, that's concerned that matter. So also the hadith, and also the second hadith, also it shows regarding the permissibility for a person to take weapon inside the masjid. In this case, they mention arrows. So it shows regarding concerning taking of weapons inside the masjid. It is something which is allowed, but with the precautions that are needed, that goes with it. So with precautions that goes along with this. And also the Muslim, it shows regarding the Muslim that with both hadith, that taking safe, having certain type of safety net in doing us, in carrying of certain things. So the person has certain, I make sure certain things are in place so as to protect others from things that a person may do. So the Muslim to be very cautious of this, not to harm a Muslim, even unintentionally. Then it mentioned of those things regarding concern of Prophet Islam having the duty also as being a Nabi or Rasul, but also being a person who's the one who's like the head of state and the teacher, and also he takes the role of person also give advice to others. So of those things regarding concern a person who's in charge, or those who are in charge of the masjid and the run of the masjid, also for them to have certain safeguarding measures in place to protect those who are the worship of the masjid. So have safeguard measures in place to protect those who are the use of the masjid. If someone may abusing of those things, for the masjid to take the appropriate step in correcting or removing of those harms and those dangers inside of the masjid. And also show the Prophet Islam and in Islam that it look concerning what will be of benefit for the multitude over that of a few. So in this case, regarding concern that the person, yes, allowed to carry weapons, but also ensure that people are protected from this, which is looking concern the person, so the masses, that they're protected from the actions of a few, even in something which is allowed, So as we mentioned, carrying of weapons inside the masjid, according to what we said, and those applies to from one country to another. Regarding concern that it showed that they're permissible of having weapons, that and those rules, and even taking them inside of the masjid. But these rules and precaution, that those rules goes according to of taking of weapon, bearing of weapons of arms, that it may differ from one country to another. So the person, he abide by the rules of his country. So if in a country it's allowed for citizens to bear weapons with guidelines, then the person is allowed to have weapon based upon the guidelines set in their particular country, or if that particular country system that they have in place that the citizens, most or the majority of the citizens are not allowed to take weapons, to carry personal weapons, then the person should not. So I showed the Prophet ﷺ, again concerned the Prophet ﷺ being the one who's the ra'i, that the person in charge that is offering advice to someone, a particular individual that he saw. So it shows regarding concern a matter regarding a Muslim of advising each other on certain matters and outlining to them certain things that could be a danger to others, that these things that they stand. So the Muslim offering advice, nasiha, to his brother, and for his well-being and also for the well-being of others. And also it shows that the hadith also, both hadith also shows regarding of those things regarding Islam, that ta'zeem hurmat al-Muslim, that Islam, it put emphasis regarding preserving of life and respect of life for the Muslim and non-Muslim, each accordingly. So Islam, so the Prophet Islam said one individual carrying a weapon in the masjid, but he told him regarding certain precautions and safety nets that should be in place so as to protect others. So of Islam, that Islam have this system in place, whether inside the masjid or outside the masjid, in the homes or outside the homes, that the Muslim should be respectful towards another Muslim, and also that he does not cross the boundaries regarding others. Do not cross the boundaries with others regarding their life, their property, and other matters. Then also it shows regarding of those things of the general principle of Islam. It mentioned hifz and nas, that of the general rules of Islam regarding those things that Islam is there to safeguard is people's life and people's safety. So regarding concern, this apply whether in the masjid or out in the street, that people's life should be respected, and also the preserving of life is of those fundamental fundamental principles of Islam, preserving of, as they say, human life. So the Muslims, the Prophet when he saw the person, he advised him regarding in preserving life, that you protect the way that you bear your arms. So that's considered hadith. The same thing can be said about the hadith that follows, the hadith of Abu Musa al-Ash'ari anhu, that mentioned that a person, man marra, the Prophet giving a general advice. Man, so anyone, marra fi shay min masajidina, anyone who goes through or pass by our masajid, or aswakina, or in the marketplace. So show the hadith regarding preserving of life, the second hadith that show that this rule, it applies whether in the masjid or outside the masjid. So places, especially mentioned these places of masajid and also the aswak, we find that a lot of people are places of gathering for people. So people gather in the masjid, and also people gather in the souk, in the marketplace. So the Prophet ﷺ kind of somewhat mentioned those places, as these are places that people are commonly gathered. Then it mentioned وَيَا يَعْقِرْ بِكَفِّ al-Muslim, where the person that tries not to injure a Muslim or put a Muslim in danger. So whether from oneself or by way of others, whether by oneself putting another Muslim in danger, or by way of others. So that's concerning of those things that can be stated regarding concerning that the message also shows regarding of those who are in charge of the masajid, that they are aware regarding of the boundaries and the objective of the masjid. That even especially concerning those who are in charge of the masajid, that they are clear regarding what are the boundaries and what is allowed and not allowed inside the masjid, and also those things that that they should ensure that those things are fulfilled and in place in the masajid. So that's concerning that particular matter. And also the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ concerned this person, he was walking through, maybe unaware, Then the Prophet ﷺ kind of somewhat brought this to the personal attention. So it showed regard concerning that those who are us, the Muslims, that are users of the masajid, that we are mindful regarding the adab of the masjid. And we use the masjid according to what it is meant for. That we use the masajid for what they are meant for. And we'll find today that by way of complacency, that many times that we are unmindful of the duties of the masjid and what is allowed and not allowed inside the masjid, where we ourselves sometimes we overstep those boundaries, either knowingly or unknowingly, out of being just complacent. Or so for the Muslims to be always mindful regarding the masjid and what are the objectives of the masjid, and we try to stick to the objective that the masjid is meant to fulfill. أيوة.
قال المؤلف رحمه الله, chapter 46. What is said about reciting poetry in the mosque, in the masjid. Hadith number 285, narrated by Hassan ibn Thabit al-Ansari radiyallahu anhu. I asked Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, by Allah, tell me the truth, whether you heard the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, O Hassan, reply on behalf of Allah's Messenger. O Allah, help him with the Ruh al-Qudus, afwan. Help him with al-Ruh al-Qudus. Abu Hurairah said, yes.
So they mentioned regarding concerning of those matters that are discussed regarding ashir fil masjid. So of the next matter that is discussed regarding of those things that relate to the masjid and what is allowed or not allowed in the masjid. So having that discussion regarding concerning from an Islamic perspective regarding ashir, which is concerning poetry being done in the masjid. Then I mentioned regarding concerning of that discussion the hadith of Hassan ibn Thabit, who was known to be of those concerning from the Sahaba al-Ansari, even though in my book it doesn't have the word Ansari. But it mentioned regarding Hassan ibn Thabit, of those concerned of those who are a poet. So it shows regarding concern that they mentioned أنه استشهد Abu Hurairah, that he kind of somewhat he requested from Abu Hurairah to make ask him to bear witness, to testify to a matter. So it shows regarding that a matter was being discussed, and that Hassan, that he want to somewhat bring forth someone to be a witness to the things that is, to the position that is taken. And of that he brought Abu Hurairah to bear witness to testify to a particular matter. Did mention, Anjudakullah, that I swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Sami'ata Rasulullah sallallahu yaqul ya Hassan. So you can somewhat mention regarding a particular event. Ajib an Rasulullah sallallahu Allahumma ayyidahu bi ruh al-Qudus. Where Prophet sallallahu somewhat that an event occurred where he asked Hassan to somewhat mention some lines of poetry in defense of the Prophet Islam or Islam. So it mentioned regarding to that, there's some mention that this particular incident, so it mentioned an incident occurred where Hassan was asked to respond by way of his defense of the Prophet Islam and / defense of Islam. So it shows regarding that this person was known, and where it says certain words which would be poetry in defense of Islam. So the ulama discussed regarding that ashar of poetry, which they categorize that one regarding is it allowed in the masjid or not. But it goes back down to our next matter regarding that they discuss. So you find that a discussion regarding concerning that ulama that divide into two opinions regarding al-poetry inside the masjid. That they mention that those who mention is something which is yajuz ahyanan, with conditions, bishurut, that they mention that is allowed for one to recite at poetry in the masjid, ahyanan, at times, they said bil haja, if there's a need. So reciting or poetry in the masjid if there's a need, but with condition where those poetry, whatever is being said as poetry, it is something which is of defense of Islam, and also it is the wordings, it is things that are said, wordings of things of benefit, nothing which is vulgar, as they will say, nothing that is unbefitting to Islam. So having poetry that will be in line with Islam, they mentioned that it is something that could be done in the masjid. Could be done in the masjid. A second opinion is that it is something which is not allowed. And you find some hadith like in Abu Dawood that mentioned that the Prophet Islam that he forbade ashar fil masjid, that he forbid regarding poetry inside the masjid. Some discussion regarding those hadith, like Shaykh Al-Bani rahimahullah, that he hold the hadith to be Hasan, and others who hold the hadith to be Daif. Regarding that the Prophet Islam, he forbade regarding this matter regarding poetry inside of the masjid. So you find that discussion between the ulama on this matter, but overall I mentioned that those who say yes, but with condition, is not something that is done often. It is done like in a case of need, but also with other guidelines regarding what is actually said regarding the poetry. They give some allowance. Then you have those who say no. So overall, you have the discussion between the ulama on this particular matter. So they mentioned that the hadith also, they said it not explicit that this incident that Hassan, that the poetry was inside the masjid regarding this hadith. So you have that discussion between the ulama. Then the Prophet mentioned, Allahumma, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ayyidhu bi ruh al-Qudus, which is Jibreel alayhi salam. So ruh al-Qudus is in reference to Jibreel alayhi salam, that the Prophet asking that for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aid Hassan regarding the poetry that he would mentioned. Then ayyidahu, yani help to strengthen him, Then Abu Hurairah, he mentioned that yes, this incident occurred. So it shows also regarding that a person being witness to something, but for that which is truth, we can say in speaking the truth. So a person may be asked to come forward to be a witness to something, and if that person is asked, then the person should speak the truth. So they mentioned, and on this case also, when the Prophet when he made the dua, he said, Allahumma ayyidhu, that the person always see going back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala regarding, if you want victory, that we also go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost. So for the person regarding whatever the person that is involved in, that we always connect this to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and of this even regarding concerning that this incident occurred. So it shows regarding, in brief, regarding if a person is asked to come forward regarding his shahada, then the person should do so and without hiding things. That's if the person is asked. If a person is asked to be a witness to something, then the person go for it, should come forward and give his shahada in speaking the truth. Also it shows regarding that the Muslim that able to defend the defense of Islam. So in this case regarding in poet or in other means. So if it's considered, so the Muslim is willing to defend Islam according to those things that he is good at. So in this case Hassan, known for his poetry, so at times we use it for the benefit of Islam. So I said that and also the Prophet Islam concerned to not making dua for Hassan regarding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aid him and strengthen him with Ruh al-Qudus. So concerned the Muslim that those people are in defense of Islam from the Mujahideen who are defending of Islam, that we make dua for them. That we make dua for them as the Prophet Islam made this dua for Hassan. So it shows regarding the Muslims who are doing things for the benefit of Islam to make dua for them, at least in our support to them. So of the least of our support is making dua for those people to be successful in the thing that they are trying to achieve for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's deen, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ad-deen. So with this matter, before we go to the next matter regarding, he mentioned regarding ash'ar, which is poetry, then our next discussion of that is discussed concerning an-nasheed. What they call today, what they refer to today, Islamic nasheed. That the word Islam doesn't need to be attached to it. The word Islam does not need to be attached to it. There's no share al-Islamiyya. There's no need to put with poetry Islamiyya. So with Islam is look at the what is being said, the content, and if the content is in line with Islam, then that's not a problem. If it is not, then it is haram. So the same. So the matter regarding they mentioned said anashid, that for a while was popular. I'm not sure if it's still the same today, but you find some discussion between ulama of those who mentioned that, even those who mentioned that nasheed, which is without per se with beats. So a person maybe like saying certain thing in a poetic way. That is the same line regarding, would be the same rule regarding ashir. That the meaning should be one which is, I said, clean, nothing vulgar, also not encouraging thing which is inappropriate. That speak of maybe things regarding the beauty of Islam and morals that are upright. But anything that, and we would have said no, without all those beats, musical tunes attached to it. And also it is said when the person said, if the person may be bored doing something which is boring, then the person may able to mention some anashid according to some of the ulama. But said the other thing though, that's for the awam al-Muslim. But it wouldn't be befitting for a person who's a person of ilm to be associated with those things. For a person of ilm and a person of standing, to be associated and promoting of those things, then that's not befitting. For a person said to be a talib al-ilm, to be promoting of these things, there was no lines to be drawn regarding the talib al-ilm, that also you have that his standard is not of the normal Muslim. That's not a rule for the person of talib al-ilm to be mindful of, that the standard that is expected from him is not that of the ordinary Muslim. We expect more from him or from her if she's a talabat al-ilm. So as we said, a Muslim talib al-ilm being associated with these things, promoting those things, then that's not befitting. That is not befitting. Then after this, and also the person said that not to be too much involved enough use of these things when you have the Quran. The Quran is there. Not to you specifically. So it says now that we have a better replacement, which is the Quran. So for a person somewhat to have that type of relationship with the Quran, that even listen to Quran as often as possible than these other things. Even for those who say is okay. Then the next matter, we found is the next matter regarding this is what we call rap. Rapping or rap or whatever the name is referred to. Any other names?
Grime
or whatever. Grime, whatever they call them. So it said, as for this thing of rapping, and you find that today in today online and in the market, you have people who may accept Islam or people who are Muslim, but they are rappers. So a person may be a Muslim by way of birth, or a person who may convert to Islam or accept Islam, but is a rapper. So it said, as for that type of rap, we said rapping that we know today, then it says haram. There's no two ways about it. Okay, come with, instead the rapping that we know today, come with the music, instead it's the words that are used, and in most part the words are vulgar. Second, it comes with beats. And even to the ones who are even the worst ones, not all the words that you find that all the other things that goes with the woman, that they're shaking their body, and the man shaking their body, you understand, all of that as a package become haram. All as a package, it's haram. So it said no, so the advice regarding to said no, so it said the matter regarding of rapping, that the one who's a Muslim and is involved, then for the person to know clearly that what he's doing is haram. If he's still involved, that a person who's a Muslim and is involved in rapping, then this is something which is haram, and for that person to discontinue from this, and for a person to seek some form of trade different from what they're involved in. So what a type of livelihood that they can, but as for them to remain in this, that's haram. And no one to encourage them in this. Especially said, those people are said to be the tulab al-ilm, not to give them the impression that what they're doing is halal or permissible. So for a person, a talib al-ilm, not in any form or shape, to make them feel that continuing this way, that lifestyle, this thing of rapping, that it is in any way permissible. But for them to desist from this ASAP. And not to continue. So that's concerning those people who are Muslim, for them to leave this. Second, those people who are maybe in it and are not Muslim, then convert to Islam. Then what of their case? The same thing. Then also for them to remove themselves from this field. So for them to accept Islam and still rapping and doing concerts, then that's haram. And their earning is haram. Because it comes that all of that come with a rapping environment. What you're doing concerning your music, the music that you're making or rapping, that's haram and all that attached to it. When you go to these concerts, then also that environment becomes a next haram. And also in a concert you have music, you have women and men doing all these crazy things. Then also the environment itself is one of evil. And not allowed in Islam. So that type of environment is totally haram for the Muslim to be inside of that haram. And a person involved, they're involved in a major sin. And all that comes with it. So also and also that of those people maybe who are involved in that field, it comes with fame. It comes with fame for those people who are involved, and also anyone who's attached with them. It can also bring attention to you, and also you become a person in the spotlight. Now for negative things. So I said, now as for those people that who may accept Islam, but they're in that field, for it to be explained to them that they cannot continue in that field. It may be difficult to say, and sometimes the truth is difficult to say and difficult to accept, but it has to be said. So I said no, for the person, so for them to receive this information and for them to kind of somewhat try to digest this information, that they cannot remain in this field. If that person comes and said, no, I'm a Muslim and I work in a bank, then you have to tell the person that work in a bank, you understand, is haram, and you need to remove yourself from that environment. So yes, certain things is difficult to say. Like a person comes to that, I accept Islam, I'm in a relationship. You can't tell the person to remain in the relationship. You have to tell them the hardcore is that the facts that in Islam regarding concerning having a relationship outside marriage is haram. It's going to be difficult for the person sometimes to make those sudden change, the least, but the information needs to be conveyed. And also, and also with those people and said, no, of the problem that we find today regarding the environment that we're in today, regarding people who are said to be popular before they embrace Islam. So you have certain people who are very popular, whether online or through other means, but they are popular, especially amongst the shabab, the youths. So when they come into Islam, people see it as that those people, because that their popularity out there and amongst the youth, that they can be a catalyst, a way to help, to attract these youths to the masjid, or whatever they think. Sometimes those thinking is wishful. Let's be real. Sometimes those thinking is wishful. So said the art said, even if that's the case, then the person have to do things properly, not by remaining in those things and trying to attract the youth. And also giving them platform when those people are green towards Islam and are unable to communicate Islam properly. So you find today, I've said, now a lot of people sometimes they have stories. Yes, they have a story. And they bring them to the masjid to speak to the youths. And that person, I went to jail for 5 years and he's out now, and I was stabbed. Okay, no problem. We understand your pain. But it doesn't mean that because you have a story, and said we can find a million other men that can tell the same story and worse. You understand? So that person, bring them to the masjid just to tell that I was in jail. I used to do this when I was in Jahiliyyah. Everyone in Jahiliyyah, even the Muslims today have stories. So not everyone who has, you understand, some negative past, that they're given a platform inside the masjid to tell the people. Those things, keep them outside the masjid. Those things are not for the masjid. So a person telling a story of his past and, oh man, I did this and I did that when I was out there. Yes, you can tell your story, but go outside the masjid. So think of, would you allow that person to go on the minbar to tell this story on Friday khutbah? Would you allow that person to go on the minbar on Yawm al-Jum'ah and tell this story to the people that are there?
Abadan.
Hey, so why do it? You understand? So I said it's preserved. So that's a part of preserving what is done inside the masjid. Naam. So I said the masjid is a special place that has restricted things that can be done, limited things that can be done inside the masjid. So we have to know those boundaries. We have to know those boundaries. So yes, maybe that person of a story, he can tell the people, and it may attract a few. We are not disputing this. Sometimes. But is the masjid the appropriate place for that story to be told? Is the masjid the place? So I said, no, everything has its place, and some of these things are some, the masjid may not be its place. And I said, no, some this and it becomes that the popular thing to do is bring them in the masjid to tell their story. So I said, no, those things to be reviewed regarding these occurrences. These occurrences, some of these things need to be reviewed. So I said, no, with the masjid is known concerning what are the bounds, what is allowed and not allowed inside the masjid. So Allah subhanahu said with the masjid that even things regarding things that are halal ordinarily in the masjid becomes haram at times. So selling and buying is not done inside the masjid because it's not a place for this. It's a place of ibadah, solely for ibadah. So I said, no, of these things that we find that regarding concern that that some of these popular people that when they come into Islam, whether through their past, that people give them a platform to the Muslim, and believe that and you find online that this person, because he's popular, and in most cases, just to be real, most of these du'at were online that kind of somewhat try to reach out to them, they're doing it. And said, if you were to say, what's their purpose of doing this? It could mean that they want for the betterment of Islam to reach out to this person, but you're going to give this person a platform to speak to other Muslims when that person about Islam, they're green. They know nothing. So what they're going to say? Even though he may have millions of followers online, but that person does not know anything about Islam, what is he going to say to the Muslim? What's he going to teach the Muslim? So we're saying, where Ahl Sunnah would set up, and we criticize others for, you pick this person in the masjid to give a talk about 5 pillars or whatever, but the person is green, would you do that? The pillars of Islam, the person, he just took a shahada, and I take him to talk about Arkan al-Islam. So the person, and you have some of these famous ones that people understand, that you find that, as I said, even though people say we're doing it for the betterment of Islam, but the way you're approaching it, it doesn't show this. Because that person, he needs to go and learn something about Islam, and then come back and maybe he can be a part of engaging the Muslim about Islam. But at this stage, the person is not ready. This person is not ready, and that's the reality. But they'll give this person and try to support this person, which said, yes, support them in learning, not giving them a platform to speak to the Muslim. Because sometimes you have cases where people are discussing this person, that person, you understand, he's going to, say he's Muslim, but he's going to church. They need to correct them and say, that's the problem. You understand? So sometimes we are the person who's famous, as he enter Islam, we give him a big platform for the Muslim. No, that's incorrect. The person is green. He's like a baby. So he needs to learn. He can't even pray properly. So what is he going to say about Islam? So I said, those people support those people. As for why they're doing it, it's questionable. I believe it's questionable. If they say, fi sabilillah, then if it's fi sabilillah, you have ikhlas and also al-mutabi'. Make sure that you fall in line with those 2 rules. How can you give a person the platform to speak to millions of Muslims when that person is green? Except you want attention. Except we want, you understand? So, where in most cases, the reality said be real, a lot of du'as online, they do it because they want themselves also to get following. So get someone who's famous, so I can get some of his followers, and both of us remain famous. That's sometimes of the reason. That's of the at times of the reasons why people give some of these famous people the platform immediately, because also they want some of the fame. تفضل شيخ.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu rasulillah wa ba'd. So we can somewhat now end up with this as the next hadith, discuss another matter, but we'll continue the hadith in the next session. So we'll end regarding this matter. Bidnillahi ta'ala. Alhamdulillah bil alameen. And that's it for today.
So Omar, what if some people, they'll say that when they invite people to the masajid, and they say that the reason why they're doing it is because it brings about, in their mindset, it brings about aiding the conversion of the kuffar to Islam. So this is their reason, and this is the reason why they bring these people. This is the reason why they might invite a specific person. It's not sometimes in terms of reaching the Muslim audience. They're talking about reaching the non-Muslims.
If you want to reach, if you said inviting a person to the masjid to do what?
Just generally to speak to a Muslim audience, but they know that when they're speaking to that Muslim audience, they'll literally be speaking in third person to the non-Muslim audience, because they know that's the people in front of them were once the people who were listening third party, and that's what brought them there. They think that's what's going to keep bringing people through the door.
That said, now that what's the intention of bringing the person? I said, if the intention is for the person you want a person to address a non-Muslim audience, then take him to a public hall. He said, no, if that person may be famous, you understand, and you want for him to address a non-Muslim audience, then take him to a public place. Take him to a hall and invite the non-Muslim audience. So it says, no, the issue regarding the person bringing him to the masjid, to talk about what? What's going to talk about if he's in a masjid? Even if he's trying to appeal to a non-Muslim audience, said that the thing a person want to take Islam, accept his shahada, and maybe a famous person, and to take his shahada in the masjid, there's no problem in that. For anyone to come in the masjid and take the shahada, you understand, we can't discriminate whether a person is famous or not famous. So taking one shahada in masjid, then that's no problem. Even to record it, if those who see the permissibility of recording it. And to show that person that we said famous took the shahada, so people can witness this. You understand? So not that maybe encouragement, you understand, but the thing is that person is famous. If you want to give him a platform to be an Islamic representative, then have to be in that he represents Islam truly and properly. So it requires, if you're going to speak with ilm. And second, if he's going to act, he act based upon ilm, which is based upon Islamic principles. You understand? So it may mean for the person who's famous, depending on how famous. A lot of people famous today not for good things. So when we say famous in our ends, the person may be famous because he's a rapper or a movie star or a sports personality. Those are people who say are famous today. So a rich man coming as a millionaire, he may be famous but not that famous. You understand? He doesn't attract the same type of crowd. So it says the person with that fame, it usually comes with if the person have those baggages that influence a lot of people. It means that for that person even more of a it comes with more responsibility on them. Are they able to drop those bad habits? So the more the person is famous, you're a famous rapper, is he able to drop the habit of his rapping thing? If you say that I'm Muslim and I want to worship that I'm Muslim, but when you leave the masjid, what are you doing? What do you do after you leave the masjid? After saying Shahada, you go out to the masjid and you're still lighting up with a spliff. You're still rapping a week after. Can you make those changes? You understand? So the thing is now, why you accepted Islam? You're still partying with the girls and everyone around you said, I'm not drinking, but everyone else drinking. You understand? So I said, no, the person is famous, then even the responsibility upon them even become more of a challenge. The person who's quiet, don't know, it's just between him and a few people. But the person who's famous, and said take his shahada and it's gone public, what changes, which is the main thing with Islam, what changes come after taking the shahada? What changes? So the person who's famous, take his shahada, and his lifestyle hasn't really changed much. He said if sometime he pray Jummah, sometimes, Ramadan, he might come and do his Ramadan. Then after that, he's doing what he's normally do. His lifestyle, not much have changed. So he said in those cases, he said, yes, fame, though, it comes with more responsibility. That's the problem. Regarding the person changing their lifestyle in accordance to Islam, just more responsibility. So sometimes even more private may be better for them. But it means that if you're going to do it public, and the public is aware, can you now, when you leave the masjid, set that example?
Good question.
Live that life of Islam. So that inshallah ta'ala.
So I got one more. So and leading to that, the next thing. So then, how does the du'at manage people who become Muslim, and then they have a specific lifestyle that the du'at he might know and maybe advise him to it, but then what relationship does that du'at have with them individuals?
Like in any case regarding a person involved in munkar openly, and I want to involve in munkar openly that's affecting others, then for the du'at, as I said, that you have to restrict your relationship with that person. I'm not saying that you have to cut the person off completely. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying you have to restrict your association with that person. Because I said he's involved in munkar. So I see it as anyone performing a munkar. You understand? You still have to have some boundary with that person. So if the person is famous, then yes, you still have to, you understand, have some boundaries with them. That's the thing, you still have to have boundaries.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, Jazakallah khair.
Because sometimes it comes where the person is famous, he comes with fulus. You understand? So he can help, I might have programs that I want to, and the masjid, you understand, he can help in the masjid, he can give good donations. But the money is from what?